In the deep folds of history, long before the rise of modern civilization, whispers spoke of a sacred book, not a book of kings, nor a record of laws, but a book of something far older, a book that did not belong to one land, one language, or one religion. It was said to be written in the soul of the earth, waiting for those with eyes to see and hearts to remember. They called it many names. Some believed it was lost forever. Others said it was never really lost, only hidden. This book, they say, does not sit on any shelf. You cannot buy it, but you can feel it. You cannot hold it in your hands, but when you hear about it, something in you stirs. A memory you cannot name, a knowing that comes before words. This is not fiction. This is the story of something real, but forgotten. In ancient Sumer, on clay tablets buried under desert sands, stories told of wisdom given by star beings, keepers of cosmic knowledge. In Egypt, inscriptions hidden deep inside temples spoke of the book of coming forth by day, not just as a guide to the afterlife, but as a manual of consciousness itself. In India, Vedic chants passed from generation to generation carried the rhythm of a greater truth, one that mirrored the stars and the soul. Across the ocean, in the temples of the Maya, calendars counted time not just in years, but in spiritual cycles, pointing to a time when this lost wisdom would return. In Tibet, monks meditated on scrolls that told of the Book of Light, a script only seen in the stillness between thoughts. These were not the same book in form, but they were the same in essence. Fragments, echoes, threads of a single tapestry torn apart and scattered across time. Who first wrote this book? No one knows, and maybe that's the point. It did not come from one author. It came from the source behind all things, the same force that spins galaxies and grows seeds. Some say the book was given by beings from other realms. Others say it was born from within us, that humanity once lived in harmony with divine knowledge, and this book was our reflection of that harmony. Then something happened, a forgetting, a fall. As the great floods came and the old civilizations crumbled, much was lost. Libraries burned, cities sank beneath the sea, and with them, the book disappeared. Some say it was hidden on purpose, to protect it from those who would misuse its power. Others say it was buried within us, coded in our very DNA, waiting to be reawakened. Throughout time, there have been glimpses, people who remembered, prophets, mystics, poets, dreamers. They would speak in symbols, paint visions, tell stories that seemed like myths, but they were keys to something greater, something waiting. In 1945, in a cave near Nag Hammadi, Egypt, farmers stumbled upon ancient scrolls, texts banned and buried for centuries. Among them, writings that spoke of divine knowledge, of inner light, of a hidden truth that could set humanity free. This was not the book, but it was part of the trail, a reminder the world barely noticed. In the 21st century, information is everywhere. Yet, wisdom feels rare. Many scroll, many click, but few feel full. That's because the hunger is not for more facts. It's for meaning, for memory, for a sense that there is something more, something real beneath the noise. That something is a book. It is said that those who seek it find it, not all at once, not in a single page, but piece by piece, in a dream, in a silence, in a synchronicity. The right words at the right time, a moment that feels too perfect to be random. The book speaks in this way, not through volume, but through vibration. Many ask, if this book is so powerful, why is no one shown to the world? The answer may be both simple and profound. The book cannot be shown. It must be remembered. It does not reveal itself to the curious, but to the sincere, to the ones who are ready, not just to know, but to change. And that's where you come in. Because if you're still watching, still listening, there's a reason. Somewhere inside you, something already knows. This isn't just history. This is your story. Your soul has been here before. It remembers the book. And now, it is ready to remember again. But before we turn the next page, we must understand how this book survived. Not in libraries, but in the hearts of the ancient world. Hidden in plain sight, wrapped in symbols, guarded by time. Let us go there now. The journey has just begun. If a truth is too powerful to be destroyed, it must be hidden. not in the shadows, but in the light, in open view, where only the awake can see. That is how the secret book survived. It became invisible by becoming everything. Its words were not ink on paper, but fire in symbols, stone in temples, breath in chants. Across the ancient world, its message was written again and again, but not in ways we're used to, not as a story to be read, but as a code to be remembered. Look closely and you'll find it woven into the very designs of the world's oldest sacred sites. In the heart of Egypt, the Temple of Luxor rises not just as a monument of stone, but as a map of the human body and spirit. Its layout mirrors a journey of energy rising from the base to the crown, what some traditions call Kundalini, what others call the path to enlightenment. This was not architecture. It was instruction. The temple itself was a page in the hidden book. In Angkor Wat, Cambodia, the entire structure aligns with cosmic cycles. Its towers represent Mount Meru, the center of all worlds. Carvings show celestial beings walking beside humans, guiding them. These are not mere decorations. They are reminders, markers for those who came seeking. Each curve, each statue, a message in stone. In the Andes, at Machu Picchu, the city was shaped in harmony with the mountains, with stars, with sacred animals. To the Inca, nature was not separate from spirit. The condor, the puma, the serpent, symbols of the upper, middle, and lower worlds, each carved into walls and paths. They were more than myths. They were keys to levels of consciousness. The same story appears again and again. In India, ancient yantras and mandalas carry complex geometries that mirror the energy patterns of the universe and the soul. In these patterns, modern scientists find mathematical precision. Physicists speak of frequencies, waveforms, hidden orders. But the ancients knew long before. They didn't use words like quantum fields. They used song, silence, and sacred sound, like Om, a vibration said to contain the entire cosmos. Across the oceans, the Hopi of North America told stories of previous worlds, cycles of creation and destruction, and a book made of stars and breath. In Africa, the Dogon spoke of invisible knowledge passed down from the sky, preserved in ritual and sound, not books. Even in Europe, cathedrals were built as cosmic blueprints. The stained glass, the rose windows, the spiral staircases, all aligned with numbers, stars, and sacred proportion. The truth was never gone. It was just waiting behind the veil of ordinary sight. Why hide something so precious? Because power misunderstood becomes danger. The ancients knew that divine knowledge in the wrong hands becomes control, corruption, chaos. So they guarded it, not with weapons, but with wonder. They made it beautiful. So only those who came with reverence would understand. They made it symbolic, so the mind would not rush ahead. You had to feel it to receive it. Over time, as empires rose and fell, the symbols remained, but the meanings were buried. Language changed. Rulers came who feared mystery, who wanted order, not questions. So they labeled these teachings as myth, as magic, as heresy. The guardians went silent. The book faded into legend, but its heartbeat never stopped. Today, we stand among its fragments, books half burned, temples half ruined, statues missing their heads. But what remains is more than enough, because the code is in the pattern, and the pattern is eternal. Take the flower of life, a simple yet perfect design found carved into the Osirian at Abydos, Egypt, one of the oldest temples on earth. This shape contains within it the foundation of all geometry, all creation. It is the blueprint of life, of galaxies, of sound. How did those ancient builders know this? Who taught them? Or did they remember it? Just like we are beginning to, there is a strange comfort in knowing that across thousands of years and thousands of miles, people who never met built the same things, told the same stories, carved the same stars. It means they were seeing something true. It means they were reading from the same book. Not a book in one language, but a book of symbols, a book of energy, a book of memory. To see it, you don't need to be a scholar. You only need to look with new eyes. Eyes that are not just on your face, but on your soul. That is how the ancient world preserved the secret. They turned it into art, into music, into movement, into myth. They trusted that one day we would see again, And now we are. Modern technology is helping us decode what was once thought to be decorative. Scientists map frequencies in sacred sounds. Architects rediscover the mathematics of the pyramids. Artists feel the pull of ancient forms. And people everywhere are waking up with a question they can't ignore. What do they know that we've forgotten? The answer is in the symbols. The answer is in the story that every sacred site, every ancient chant, every cosmic alignment is still trying to tell us. The answer is in the book, and the book is beginning to speak again. But to truly understand why it was hidden, we must ask, who did the hiding, who feared its power, who shaped the world to forget it? That is where the next part of our journey leads. Let's go deeper. The gatekeepers are waiting. When something holds deep power, power to awaken, to heal, to free, it attracts not only seekers but also protectors and those who fear it. The book we followed through ruins and rituals did not vanish by accident. It was hidden, guarded, silenced, and not only by time or by nature, but by hands that understood exactly what it could do. Not all who hid it were villains. Some were wise. They knew the book's truths were not toys for the curious. They saw how easily sacred knowledge could become a weapon. Others, though, saw it differently. They saw control. They saw a chance to rule, not with chains, but with ideas. And so, they became the gatekeepers. Imagine a world where everyone remembers they are more than a body, more than a name. Imagine if every person knew they carried divine light, connected to all things. What empire could survive that? What priest could claim authority over you if the temple was already within you? That's the threat the book posed. In ancient Babylon, when rulers rose to power, they often demanded divine right. They claimed descent from gods, while hiding the real stories of divinity that belonged to all people. Tablets were taken. Myths were rewritten. What was once a song of unity became a hierarchy of control. In Egypt, as priesthoods grew powerful, access to sacred texts was limited to a chosen few. The Book of the Dead, once a tool for inner awakening, became a ritual object, read aloud by others, instead of lived from within. Its symbols became locked behind ceremony. The soul's journey was turned into dogma. Then came Rome, the empire that blended conquest with conversion. As Christianity took form, many teachings once seen as sacred were labeled as pagan. Temples were closed, libraries burned. Most famously, the Library of Alexandria, home to knowledge from all over the known world, was destroyed, its scrolls lost to fire and war. What might have been in those texts? What pages of the secret book were lost forever? But not everything was destroyed. Some groups went underground. The Essenes, a mystical sect near the Dead Sea, preserved fragments of spiritual truth. Their scrolls, buried in caves for thousands of years, only resurfaced in the last century. Inside were teachings of light, inner kingdoms, and the divine self. Teachings that echoed the lost book, too dangerous for the empires of time. In medieval Europe, secret societies like the Cathars and later the Templars were accused of heresy. Why? Because they held beliefs that pointed inward, that bypassed the church, that spoke of a light inside each person that could not be controlled. Many were tortured, killed, silenced. The book's wisdom became a threat. Even in the East, empires rose that tried to centralize spiritual power. In China, the burning of books and burying of scholars under Emperor Qin destroyed entire schools of thought. In India, invaders attempted to wipe out temples and scriptures that taught direct union with the divine. Control of knowledge became control of people. Gatekeepers stood at every entrance, deciding who could read, who could speak, who could seek. But here's the secret. The book was never really under their control, because the book was never just words. It was experience. It was awakening, and that cannot be erased. The mystics kept it alive. In Sufi poetry, in Gnostic hymns, in Kabbalistic codes, the truth whispered on, hidden in allegory, preserved in symbols. The tarot became one such vessel, a deck of images, each card a chapter of the soul's journey, echoing the same steps as the ancient texts. Even when burned, the book survived in memory, in silence, in song. And now, something is changing. The gatekeepers are losing their hold. Why? because the world is waking up. Today, information is everywhere. But beyond the noise, people are beginning to feel again, to seek not just answers, but meaning. And with that seeking, the old walls are cracking. Ancient texts once locked in vaults are now translated online. Symbols once called superstition are being studied again with open minds. But be warned, not all who open the book today do so with good intent. The new gatekeepers are not always in robes or thrones. Some wear suits. Some run algorithms. They distract not with fire, but with endless scrolling. They flood the mind so the soul stays silent. They sell the illusion of freedom while keeping the truth fragmented, watered down, commercialized. That's why discernment is needed. Not every voice that speaks of ancient wisdom honors it. Some distort it. Some simplify it until it loses its soul. Others twist it to serve ego, not truth. The real book cannot be sold. It cannot be branded. It can only be lived. And that is where your power lies. Because in this age, the only gate that remains is within you. You are both the seeker and the key. The book is opening again, but only those with courage will read its pages. So we ask, what does the book actually say? Beyond the temples, beyond the ruins, beyond the gatekeepers. What is the message that has echoed through all time? That is where we go next. Let us read not with our minds alone, but with our hearts. The journey leads inward now. What if the book you seek is not a book of the world, but a book of the soul? What if its pages are not turned by hand, but by experience? What if the entire purpose of life, of birth and death, of joy and pain, is to walk the story written within it? This is what the ancient texts were trying to tell us, not with direct words, but with symbols, with myth, with ritual. They were not just stories. They were maps, maps of the invisible, guides of the journey we all must take, the soul's journey. At the heart of every great spiritual teaching, you find the same pattern, hidden beneath names and doctrines. A soul descends into form, forgets its origin, struggles through darkness, discovers its light, and returns to source. This pattern is the spine of the book. Every chapter is a phase of awakening. In Egypt, the so-called Book of the Dead was not about death as we know it. Its real name was the Book of Coming Forth by Day. It was a guide, not to escape death, but to understand it. It spoke of the journey the soul must take after leaving the body, through trials and truths, across the halls of judgment, and into union with the divine. But it also spoke of life, because this journey of the soul does not begin at death. It begins now. The book reveals that we are more than we seem, that our fears, our patterns, our doubts, our illusions we must pass through, that the real self is eternal, untouched by decay. But to remember this, we must walk through forgetfulness. We must descend into the world of matter, of distraction, of pain. This is not punishment. It is initiation. Like Osiris dismembered and reborn. Like the Buddha leaving his palace. Like Jesus walking into the wilderness. Like Inanna descending into the underworld. Each story echoes the same truth. The soul must go down to rise. It must face the shadow to find the light. And through it all, something is guiding us. Something ancient. Something sacred. The book shows us the steps. The first is forgetting. When we enter life, and the world seems separate, chaotic, full of noise, then comes the call. Something within us stirs. A longing, a moment of pain or wonder that cracks the shell of routine. Then begins the search for meaning, for peace, for home. We look outside at first, but slowly we are led inward. Here, we face the guardian at the gate. Our own fear, our wounds, our illusions. The book teaches us not to run, but to see, to feel, to transform. Every pain becomes a teacher. Every loss becomes a clearing. We begin to remember not just who we are, but what we are. Light, consciousness, presence. Then comes awakening, the lifting of the veil. Not all at once, but in waves. A dream that speaks truth. A synchronicity that opens your eyes. A stillness that feels like home. The book does not end there. Because true wisdom is not just seeing the light. It's living from it. Walking through the world, not above it, but within it, as a soul in motion. This journey is not just for saints or mystics. It is for everyone. It is the very reason we are here. The book reveals that life is a sacred mirror, that every person you meet, every challenge you face is a reflection, showing you parts of yourself. The joyful ones reflect your inner truth. The painful ones reveal what needs healing. The book teaches that nothing is wasted, not a single tear, not a single failure. All of it is alchemy. In this journey, the soul begins to remember its past lives, not in detail, but in feeling. You see a face and feel you've known them before. You visit a place and it feels like home. You hear words that speak to something you cannot explain. These are echoes of the book, signs that you are remembering. But the final chapters are not about escape. They are about return, not leaving Earth, but living in it with awakened eyes, seeing spirit in matter, seeing unity in difference, seeing love in all things. The ancient book does not promise paradise somewhere else. It shows you how to awaken paradise within. To walk this path is to become both student and teacher. To carry the book not in your hands, but in your heart. To read it in silence, in breath, in the eyes of another. And once you do, something changes. The world begins to speak to you differently. A breeze becomes a message. A bird becomes a symbol. A moment of stillness becomes a doorway. You begin to see the sacred in the ordinary. You begin to feel held, guided, connected. This is what the book reveals. And this is why it was hidden, because such power belongs only to those who are ready to use it with love. You are not separate from this story. You are living it, right now. And the next chapter depends on your choice. Will you forget again, or will you remember? The soul's journey is not easy, but it is beautiful, and it is yours. Now, as we look to the world around us, to science, to discovery, to the awakening of human hearts, we find something incredible. The ancient map and the modern world are meeting. The book is being remembered not just by seekers, but by science itself. Let us turn to that page next. For centuries, the sacred book was seen as myth, too strange for scholars, too silent for science. But now, something is shifting. The ancient and the modern, the mystical and the material, are beginning to meet. And when they do, the impossible starts to make sense. What once belonged to temples and dreams is now echoing in laboratories and telescopes. The wisdom hidden in chants, carvings, and rituals is being confirmed not by belief, but by observation. The book is awakening, and the language it once spoke is now heard through the lens of science. In the field of quantum physics, we discover a strange truth. The world is not made of things, but of relationships. Particles do not exist as solid objects until they are observed. Reality, at its core, is not fixed. It is fluid. This echoes the teachings of ancient mystics, who said the universe is shaped by consciousness, that we are not passive observers, but co-creators. The sacred book told us that everything is connected, that what we do to one part, we do to the whole. Now we call it entanglement. Two particles, light years apart, can mirror each other instantly. Time and space, as we know them, are not barriers. The universe is a web. Just like the teaching said, in the study of cymatics, sound creates form. When sound frequencies are played through a medium like sand or water, they form intricate patterns, mandalas, sacred geometry, the flower of life. These patterns mirror those found in ancient temples, in scrolls, in the designs of nature. The book once said that sound is the source. That creation began with vibration. Now we see it. Neuroscience, too, is opening the door. When people meditate, their brain waves shift. When they chant, something in their body realigns. MRI scans show changes in regions tied to compassion, awareness, unity. The ancients did not have machines, but they knew. They taught breath, mantra, focus. They knew that the inner world could reshape the outer. In the structure of DNA, we find spirals, echoing the double helix, the serpent winding up the spine, the caduceus of Hermes, the staff of healing. Once seen as mythic, now known as molecular, the patterns are the same. The code is still there. Even the stars speak. The precession of the equinoxes, a slow movement of Earth's axis over 26,000 years, was tracked by ancient cultures without telescopes. They built monuments aligned to solstices, to rising stars, to cosmic gates. They knew we were part of a larger cycle, that human consciousness rose and fell with the stars. Now, we are just beginning to rediscover this celestial rhythm. And in the earth itself, we find memory. In places like Göbekli Tepe, a site over 11,000 years old, carved stones speak of stars, of animals, of symbols found across the world. Before writing, before cities. Who built it? How did they know? The same motifs appear in Australia, in Siberia, in South America. A shared language of spirit, a shared memory, a shared book. In the rise of holistic medicine, energy healing, and plant medicines, ancient knowledge returns. Once dismissed, now studied. Shamans who spoke to plants are now understood as scientists of spirit. Their ceremonies align with what neuroscience sees. Changes in perception, in emotion, in connection. They were not primitive. They were precise. Even AI, this very tool you're using, is helping decode ancient languages, discover lost patterns, translate scrolls once unreadable. The very technology that seemed to pull us away from spirit is now, in strange ways, leading us back. Because the truth cannot stay hidden. It only waits for the right eyes, the right heart, the right moment. And that moment is now. We live in an age where everything is available, and yet many still feel lost. That is the paradox of our time. Surrounded by knowledge, starving for wisdom, we have maps to every place on earth, but not to our own soul. That's what the book gives us. A mirror, a compass, a remembering. The awakening is not loud. It comes in moments. When a scientist reads a sacred text and sees a formula. When a seeker sees a crop circle and feels a message. When an artist paints a vision they don't understand, but which speaks to something ancient. These are not accidents. They are signals. The book is whispering again. But this time, not to a few, to all, because the time of secrets is over. The time of remembering has begun. Still there is a choice, to listen or to ignore, to awaken or to remain in sleep. The book does not force. It waits, with patience, with love, like a mother waiting for a child to return home. We are the ones it waited for, not priests, not kings, ordinary people, ready to become extraordinary, ready to read the story written in stars, in atoms, in dreams. The final chapter is not written yet, because you are the author now, and the question remains, why you? Why now? Let us answer that. If you've made it here, through myths and ruins, through symbols and silence, then know this, it is not by chance. There are no accidents in the language of the soul. You did not find this message. It found you, or more truly, a part of you called it forth. Because something inside you has always known, even before the words, before the journey, before the questions. A quiet part, a watching part, the soul. And now, that part is waking up. The book, hidden for centuries, buried beneath fear and fire, speaks again. But not in shouts, not in headlines. It speaks in the soft ways. A moment of stillness, a sudden knowing, a dream that lingers. It is not something to learn. It is something to remember. And you are remembering now. Why you? Because this world needs those who remember. The earth is not just changing on the outside. The real change is happening within. The old systems of control, of fear, of separation are cracking. People are searching for meaning, for unity, for truth, but not the truth of facts. The truth of feeling, of being, of becoming whole again. That's where you come in. The book does not awaken for entertainment. It awakens to call you back to your purpose, to show you that your life is not random, that your struggles, your dreams, your doubts have all been steps on the path, that your heart, even in its silence, has always been listening. Now it's your turn to become the page, to live the wisdom, to carry the light, not in grand gestures, but in quiet acts, in the way you see others, in the way you forgive, in the way you dare to live honestly, deeply, presently. That is how the book breathes again. You don't need robes. You don't need temples. You are the temple now. You are the scroll unfolding. And yes, There will be days when it feels heavy, when the world seems louder than your inner voice. But those are the moments the book prepared you for, not to escape, but to remember that you are not alone, that the divine never left. It only waited for you, for this moment. Look around. Do you see it? People waking up all over the world, sharing dreams, signs, visions, talking about energy, purpose, light. They are reading too, without knowing the name of the book, but feeling its truth. That is how it spreads, from soul to soul, from silence to song. You are part of something ancient and new, a remembering so deep it moves in your bones. So what now? Live it. Make your life the message. Let your choices be your prayer. Let your presence be your offering. Speak only when moved by truth. Create only what honors the soul. Heal not to fix, but to reveal wholeness. This is not a trend. This is not content. This is a calling. The secret book is no longer secret. It never was, because you are always the key. The final chapter is not written in text. It is written in time, in what you do from here. So breathe. Feel the ground beneath you, the stars above, the rhythm in your chest. That is the book alive within you. Now walk forward, not to seek, but to embody, not to ask, but to become. You are the reader. You are the page. You are the voice, and the world is ready.